The UEFA Europa League, previously called the UEFA Cup, is an annual football club competition organized by UEFA since 1971 for eligible European football clubs. Clubs qualify for the competition based on their performance in their national leagues and cup competitions. Previously called the UEFA Cup, the competition has been known as the UEFA Europa League since the 2009-10 season, following a change in format. For UEFA footballing records purposes, the UEFA Cup and UEFA Europa League are considered the same competition, with the change of name being simply a rebranding. In 1999, the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup was abolished and merged with the UEFA Cup. For the 2004-05 competition, a group stage was added prior to the knockout phase. The 2009 rebranding included a merge with the UEFA Untitled Cup, producing an enlarged competition format, with an expanded group stage and changed qualifying criteria. The winner of the UEFA Europa League qualifies for the UEFA Super Cup, and from the 2014-15 season onwards, the winner of the UEFA Europa League also qualifies for the next edition of the UEFA Champions League. The winner enters at least at the playoff round, assuming they do not already qualify through domestic performance, and will enter the group stage if the berth reserved for the Champions League title holders is not used. The title has been won by 27 different clubs, 12 of which have won the title more than once. The most successful club in the competition and the current champions are Sevilla with 5 titles after defeating Liverpool in the final to win the 2015-16 UEFA Europa League, thus taking their third straight title and extending their current record of titles. History edit The UEFA Cup was preceded by the Intercities Fairs Cup, which was a European football competition played between 1955 and 1971. The competition grew from 11 teams during the first cup, 1955 to 58, to 64 teams by the last cup, which was played in 1970-71. It had become so important on the European football scene that in the end it was taken over by UEFA and relaunched the following season as the UEFA Cup. The UEFA Cup was first played in the 1971-72 season, with an all-English final of Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Tottenham Hotspur, with Spurs taking the first honours. The title was retained by another English club, Liverpool, in 1973, beating Borussia Mönchengladbach in the final. Borussia would win the competition in 1975 and 1979, and reach the final again in 1980. Liverpool won the competition for the second time in 1976, beating Club Brugge in the final. During the 1980s, IFK Göteborg 1982 and 1987, and Real Madrid 1985 and 1986 won the competition twice each, with Anderlecht reaching 2 consecutive finals, winning in 1983 and losing to Tottenham Hotspur in 1984. 1989 saw the commencement of the Italian club's domination, when Maradona's Napoli beat Stuttgart. The 1990s started with 2 all-Italian finals, and in 1992, Torino lost the final to Ajax on the away goals rule. Juventus won the competition for a third time in 1993, and Internazionale kept the cup in Italy the following year. 1995 saw a third all-Italian final, with Parma proving their consistency, after 2 consecutive Cup Winners' Cup finals. The only final with no Italians during that decade was in 1996. Internazionale reached the final the following 2 years, losing in 1997 to Schalke 04 on penalties, and winning yet another all-Italian final in 1998, taking home the cup for the third time in only 8 years. Parma won the cup in 1999, which ended the Italian club era. Liverpool won the competition for the third time in 2001, and Porto triumphed in the 2003 and 2011 tournaments, with the latter against Portuguese team Braga. In 2004, the cup returned to Spain, with Valencia being victorious, and then Sevilla succeeded on 2 consecutive occasions in 2006 and 2007, the latter in a final against fellow Spaniards Espanyol. Either side of Sevilla's success, 2 Russian teams, CSKA Moscow in 2005 and Zenit St. Petersburg in 2008, had their glory, and yet another former Soviet club, Ukraine's Shakhtar Donetsk, won in 2009. Atletico Madrid would themselves win twice in 3 seasons, in 2010 and 2012, the latter in another all-Spanish final. In 2013, Chelsea would become the first Champions League holders to win the UEFA Cup, Europa League the following year. In 2014, Sevilla won their third cup in 8 years after beating Benfica on penalties. Just 1 year later, in 2015, Sevilla won their 4th UEFA Cup, Europa League, becoming the most successful club in the competition. The competition was traditionally open to the runners-up of domestic leagues, but the competition was merged with UEFA's previous second-tier European competition, the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup, in 1999. Since then, the winners of domestic cup competitions have also entered the UEFA Cup. Also, clubs eliminated in the third qualifying round of the UEFA Champions League and the third-place teams at the end end of the group phase could go on to compete in the UEFA Cup. Winners of some selected domestic League Cup competitions are also admitted. Since the 2009-10 season, the competition has been known as the UEFA Europa League. At the same time, the UEFA Intertoto Cup, UEFA's third-tier competition, was discontinued and merged into the new Europa League. Trofeited The UEFA Cup, also known as the Coupe UEFA, is the trophy awarded annually by UEFA to the football club that wins the UEFA Europa League. Before the 2009-10 season, both the competition and the trophy were known as the UEFA Cup. Before the competition was renamed the UEFA Europa League in the 2009-10 season, the UEFA regulations stated that a club could keep the original trophy for a year before returning it to UEFA. After its return, the club could keep a 4/5 scale replica of the original trophy. Upon their third consecutive win or fifth win overall, a club could retain the trophy permanently. Under the new regulations, however, the trophy remains in UEFA's keeping at all times. A full-size replica trophy is awarded to each winner of the competition. Also, a club that wins 3 consecutive times or 5 times overall will receive a multiple winner badge. As of 2016-17, only Sevilla have earned the right to wear the multiple winner badge, having achieved both pre-required feats in 2016. The trophy was designed and crafted by Bertoni for the 1972 UEFA Cup final. It weighs 15 kilograms and is silver on a yellow marble plinth. Anthem edit The competition's first anthem was composed by Johann Zweig and recorded by the Paris Opera in early 2009. The theme for the rebranded UEFA Cup competition was first officially unveiled at the Grimaldi Forum on the 28th of August 2009 before the 2009-10 season group stage draw. The anthem is to be played before every Europa League game at a stadium hosting such an event and also before every television broadcast of a Europa League game as a musical element of the competition's opening sequence. A new anthem was composed by Michael Kadelbach and recorded in Berlin and was launched as part of the competition's rebranding at the start of the 2015-16 season. Format edit Qualification edit Qualification for the competition is based on UEFA coefficients, with better entrance rounds being offered to the more successful nations. In practice, each association has a standard number of 3 berths, except nations ranked 52 and 53, Andorra and San Marino in the 2013-14 season, which have 2 berths. The nation ranked 54, Gibraltar in the 2014-15 season, which has 1 berth. Liechtenstein, which qualifies only the cup winners. Usually, each country's places are awarded to teams who finish in various runners-up places in its top flight league and the winner of the main cup competition. Typically, the teams qualifying via the league are those in the highest places not eligible for the UEFA Champions League. However, the Belgian league awards 1 place via a playoff between First A and First B teams. A few countries have secondary cup competitions, but the only ones whose winners are currently granted a UEFA Europa League are England's and France's. A team may qualify for European competitions through more than one route. In all cases, if a club is eligible to enter the UEFA Champions League, then the Champions League place takes precedence and the club does not enter the UEFA Europa League. The UEFA Europa League place is then granted to another club. If a team qualifies for European competition through both winning a cup and league placing, the spare UEFA Europa League place will go to the highest placed league team which has not already qualified for European competition. Depending on the rules of the National Association, the top 3 ranked associations may qualify for the 4th berth if both the Champions League and Europa League champions are from that association and do not qualify for European competition through their domestic performance. In that case, the 4th place team in that association will join the Europa League instead of the Champions League, in addition to their other qualifying teams. More recently, clubs that are knocked out of the qualifying round and the group stage of the Champions League can also join the UEFA Europa League, at different stages, see below. Formerly, the reigning champions qualified to defend their title, but since 2015 they qualify for the Champions League. From 1995 to 2015, 3 leagues gained 1 extra team via the UEFA Respect Fair Play ranking. Background edit UEFA coefficients were introduced in 1980 and, until 1999, they gave a greater number of berths in UEFA Cup to the more successful nations. 3 nations had 4 places, 5 nations had 3 places, 13 nations had 2 places, and 11 nations only 1 place. Since 1999, a similar system has been used for the UEFA Champions League. Before 1980, the entrance criteria of the last Fairs Cup was used. Historical formats edit The competition was traditionally a pure knockout tournament. All ties were 2-legged, including the final. Starting with the 1997-98 season, the final became a one-off one-off match, but all other ties remained two-legged. Before the 2004-05 season, the tournament consisted of one qualifying round, followed by a series of knockout rounds. The 16 non-qualifiers from the final qualifying round of the Champions League entered at the first round proper. Later in the tournament, the survivors were joined by third-place finishers from the first group phase of the Champions League. From the 2004-05 season, the competition started with two knockout qualifying rounds held in July and August. Participants from associations ranked 18 and lower entered the first qualifying round, with those from associations ranked 9 to 18 joining them in the second qualifying round. In addition, 3 places in the first qualifying round were reserved for the UEFA Fair Play ranking winners until 2015-16, and 11 places in the second qualifying round for the UEFA Intertoto Cup winners. Winners of the qualifying rounds then joined teams from the associations ranked 1 to 13 in the first round proper. In addition, non-qualifiers in the third qualifying round of the Champions League also joined the competition at this point, along with the current title holders, unless they had qualified for the Champions League via their national league, for a total of 80 teams in the first round. After the first knockout round, the 40 survivors entered a group phase, with the clubs being drawn into 8 groups of 5 each. Unlike the Champions League group phase, the UEFA Cup group phase was played in a single round-robin format, with each club playing 2 home and 2 away games. The top 3 teams in each of the 8 groups qualified for the main knockout round, along with the 8 third-place teams in the Champions League group phase. From then on, a series of 2-legged knockout ties were played before a single-legged final, traditionally held on the Wednesday in May immediately preceding the Champions League final. Current format edit From the 2009-10 season, the competition has been rebranded as the UEFA Europa League in a bid to increase the competition's profile, as well as changing the competition's name. An extra 8 teams now qualify for the main stages of the competition, with the group stage consisting of 12 groups of 4 teams, in a double round robin, with the top 2 placed teams in each group progressing. The competition then progresses in much the same way as the previous format, with 4 rounds of 2-legged knockout rounds and a one-off final held at a neutral ground meeting UEFA's Category 4 stadium criteria. The final is played in May, on the Wednesday 10 days before the Champions League final. Qualification has changed significantly since Gibraltar was accepted as a full UEFA member at the UEFA Congress held in London on the 24th of May 2013. Their cup winner is also sent. Usually, the other teams will be the next highest ranked clubs in each domestic league after those qualifying for the UEFA Champions League. However, France and England will continue to use one spot for their League Cup winner. With the scrapping of the Intertoto Cup, there will no longer be spaces reserved in the qualifying rounds for teams qualifying through that route. The 12 winners and the 12 runners-up in the group stage advance to the first knockout round, together with 8 third-place teams from the Champions League group stage. The losing finalist for the domestic cup competition was entitled to be entered for the UEFA Europa League should the domestic cup winners qualify for the UEFA Champions League. Distribution from 2015-16 edit The access list above is provisional, as changes will need to be made in the following cases. If the Champions League title holders or the Europa League title holders have qualified for the Europa League through domestic performance, their berth in the Europa League is vacated, not replaced by another team from the same association, and cup winners of the highest-ranked associations are moved to a later round accordingly. Redistribution rule is that a Europa League place is vacated when a team qualifies for both the Champions League and the Europa League, or qualifies for the Europa League by more than one method. When a place is vacated, it is redistributed within the national association by the following rules. Regulations Articles 3.03 and 3.04. When the domestic cup winners, considered as the highest-placed qualifier within the national association with the latest starting round, also qualify for the Champions League, their Europa League place is vacated. When the domestic cup winners also qualify for the Europa League through league position, their place through the league position is vacated. As a result, the highest-placed team in the league which have not yet qualified for European competitions qualify for the Europa League, with the Europa League qualifiers which finish above them in the league moved up one place if possible. For associations where a Europa League place is reserved for the League Cup winners, they always qualify for the Europa League as the lowest-placed qualifier. If the League Cup winners have already qualified for European competitions through other methods, this reserved Europa League place is taken by the highest-placed team in the league which have not yet qualified for European competitions. Format changes from 2018-19 edit Beginning with the 2018-19 tournament, all domestic champions eliminated in the qualifying rounds of the UEFA Champions League will transfer to the Europa Europa League, rather than just teams that are eliminated in the third qualifying and playoff rounds. Europa League qualifying will also provide a separate champions route for these teams, allowing more opportunities for domestic league champions to compete against each other. Referees. The Europa League have implemented the extra officials rule since September 2009. Under the rule, there will be a total of 6 officials, the main referee, 2 assistant referees, 4th official of the sideline, and 2 extra assistants, 1 alongside each goal. Prize money. Similar to the UEFA Champions League, the prize money received by the clubs is divided into fixed payments based on participation and results, and variable amounts that depend of the value of their TV market. For the 2016-2017 season, group stage participation in the Europa League awarded a base fee of €2.6 million. A victory in the group pays €360,000 and a draw €120,000. Also, each group winner earns €600,000 and each runner-up €300,000. Reaching the knockout stage triggers additional bonuses, €500,000 for the round of 32, €750,000 for the round of 16, €1 million for the quarter-finals and €1.6 million for the semi-finals. The losing finalists receive €3.5 million and the champions receive €6.5 million. First qualifying round, €215,000. Second qualifying round, €225,000. Third qualifying round, €235,000. Playoff round elimination, €245,000. Base fee for group stage, €2,600,000. Group match victory, €360,000. Group match draw, €120,000. Group winners, €600,000. Group runners-up, €300,000. Round of 32, €500,000. Round of 16, €750,000. Quarter-finals, €1 million. Semi-finals, €1,600,000. Losing finalist, €3,500,000. Winners, €6,500,000. Sponsorship. The UEFA Europa League is sponsored by 5 multinational corporations. The current tournament sponsors are Enterprise Rent-A-Car, FedEx, who is the main sponsor, Hankook Tire, Heineken International, Amstel being the main brand, with local brands being also advertised. UniCredit. Adidas is a secondary sponsor and supplies the official match ball, as it does for all other UEFA competitions. Konami's Pro Evolution Soccer is also a secondary sponsor as the official Europa League video game. Since the inception of Europa League brand, the tournament used its own hoardings. In that year it debuted in the round of 32, like UEFA Champions League. LED hoardings made their debut since 2012-13 in the finals and will appear in 2015-16 season from the round of 16. In the same season, from the group stage, teams are not allowed to show their sponsors. Individual clubs may wear jerseys with advertising, even if such sponsors conflict with those of the Europa League. Records and statistics. The UEFA Cup finals were played over 2 legs until 1997. The first final was played on the 3rd of May 1972 in Wolverhampton and the 17th of May 1972 in London. The first leg between Wolverhampton Wanderers and Tottenham Hotspur was won 2-1 by the away side. The second leg finished as a 1-1 draw, meaning that Tottenham Hotspur became the first UEFA Cup winners. The one-match finals in pre-selected venues were introduced in 1998. A venue must meet or exceed UEFA Category 3 standards to host UEFA Cup finals. On 2 occasions, the final was played at a finalist's home ground. Feyenoord defeated Borussia Dortmund at De Kuip, Rotterdam, in 2002, and Sporting CP lost to CSKA Moscow at their own Estadio José Alvalade, Lisbon, in 2005. The winner of the last UEFA Cup final, prior to the competition being rebranded as the UEFA Europa League, was Shakhtar Donetsk on the 20th of May 2009. The Ukrainian team beat Werder Bremen of Germany 2-1 at Sukru Sarıkoglu Stadium, Istanbul. The first ever winner of the rebranded Europa League was Atletico Madrid, beating Premier League side Fulham 2-1 after extra time. Winner said it. References did external links edit Official website, UEFA website, archive.